Are you an FPV racing pilot and you like HDZero because of the digitally goodness on your gate crashing rigs, but you hate how the Race V2 board sticks over the edges? Well, today I'm going to show you how to fix it with a saw just like this one. Hey everybody, I'm Bacon Ninja, and no, we're not going to use the saw, because we don't need to use the saw. Because HDZero came out with a V3 of their race board, the Race V3, and no longer do you have to worry about it sticking over the edges of your flight controller, because they trimmed it down to what is actually a very reasonable size. But more so than just the size of the board, there's actually a lot of race-oriented features that went into this thing that I think racers are really going to appreciate. So let me just give you a quick overview of the board itself, and then we're going to dive into what this actually means for racing with digital in 2023. The Race V3 is now on a 32 by 28 footprint using 20 by 20 mounting, which means it'll fit right on top of your flight controllers like it's supposed to. It still uses gummies for isolation, and they added a few other quality of life features, like the screw-on UFL lock. Rather than have to use a zip tie, you actually get little screws and a brass bracket right in the box to lock your UFL down, instead of having to zip tie around it like a madman, and then hope it doesn't pop off mid-race, which it does. And along with changing up the UFL lock-in, they have changed the orientation of the MIPI, so you no longer have to run the MIPI directly over the board to use a camera, which is really nice. But the biggest feature that they've added is actually the thickness of this board. This is a 1.6 millimeter PCB, which is actually a pretty huge change for the racing market. Normally when we get small VTXs like this in a 20 by 20 pattern, and I'm going to use their Whoop Lite, which is another 25 by 25 small form factor VTX from HDZero. We get a 1.0 millimeter thickness PCB. This is on a 1.6, which means that you're going to have less PCB flex. And when you're crashing your quad a lot, that really does matter. That's how the small components on the board tend to wear out. As we flex the PCBs, it flexes the solder joints, and over time and repetition, which crashing is repetitive in racing, there's no way around it. That is how you get issues with components. So the thickness of this board really helps increase the durability. And I would say that HDZero, hands down, is the choice for digital when you're racing. That's just the way the world works. It's the lowest latency option for racing with digital. But the quality and durability have been a problem in racing. We've seen a lot of racers go to HDZero, convert all their quads, and then actually roll back to analog, which is basically just because of the durability concerns. They've blown up a lot of VTXs. With this, you're going to have a lot lower chance of damaging the VTX. And not only did they make the board thicker, they took the time to put some adhesive over some of the smaller components so that you don't accidentally knock them off. There's some goop on this board. It's a very small amount, but it covers some of the small critical components, so you don't have to worry about that. And they also looked at durability from the component standpoint itself. They put a lot more full-size components on here than they needed to so that you could get more reliability and durability out of it on the flight field. That's a really good step. Awesome job, HDZero. Now, it does keep a couple of the features that we've seen in other race VTXs, like the 200 milliwatts output. So this is not going to be your new freestyle rig. It's just not going to work out. But they did mess with the voltages a little bit so that if you really wanted to run this on something small, like say you're building a 3-inch racing setup, you totally can. This will operate on as low as 4 volts, and you can run it on a 5-volt, 1.5 amp BEC just fine all day. It'll operate all the way up to 12 volts. So rather than run this on VBAT, it's really designed to be run off of a BEC on your flight controller, which is actually another good thing because the chances of a voltage spike taking this component out are going to be significantly lower if you have it on a BEC. So they're really pounding down the durability on this because I think that they got a lot of feedback from racers about that being their biggest nitpick. So congratulations, HDZero. I think you've actually made some really good strides to keeping this board as durable as possible, making it as small as possible and as light as possible to make it a terrific option for the race market. And if you're racing, you probably care about what modes it operates in for your cameras. Well, this board does support the 540p 90 FPS mode, the 720p 60 FPS mode, and a 1080p 30 FPS mode. So basically, you're good with any of the cameras on the market with this board as long as your goggles are compatible. Remember, to use the Nano 90, you still have to use the HDZero goggles. So if you have those and you want to run the 540p 90 FPS, you are good to go with this. So you can run ultra low latency. You don't have to be as concerned about durability. It'll mount easier and won't hang out of your frame. You can lock the UFL on with screws instead of zip ties or weird nuts or whatever it is you guys were doing for racing before now. And you don't have to worry about the MIPI going over the board, which was always a big concern for me. I hate running the MIPI above the board and back over past the UFL to get to the camera. It was so weird, and I'm glad that they oriented it better this time so that we don't have to worry about that. And as far as convenience goes, it comes pre-soldered with a pigtail to plug into, hopefully, the digital port on your flight controller since you're going to be using a BEC, and makes swapping them out really easy. If you do blow this thing up in the field, you just pop your stuff open, you unplug it, you put a new one in, you plug it in, and you're basically good to go. The whole process is very much sped up. And I think this is a really good move forward. Now, you're probably asking yourself, they're making this, but what are they doing for us freestyle guys? I hope something. I don't have any news on what they might be building, but it's nice to see them put some effort into new VTX designs. You have to remember that DiviMath is an IC creator. They make the silicon. They don't design the boards. That's not ever been their thing. They are definitely learning and giving us what we ask for. So continue to provide your feedback. And for you freestylers, I really hope that HDZero has something in the works for us that has more than a 1 watt output. HDZero, do that and send one of those to me, because I really would love to see that. But this board does run $69.99 if you're interested. It is available on HDZero's site, and it's supposed to be available very soon on your favorite vendors' sites. So if you're interested in racing and you don't want to break it and you do want to have digital, this is really a good way to go. 25 or 200 milliwatts output. The 25 milliwatts output is going to be very calibrated for your flight line because this is designed very purely for racing, and I think you're really going to enjoy it, and you don't have to worry about destroying the thing. So pick one of these up if you are running HDZero and you want to race this season, because I think you will wind up spending less in the long run than trying to pull out all of your old Race V2s, Race V1 boards and get them to survive through a season of crashing into gates. Definitely one to look at. And thank you so much to HDZero for sending this to me to take a look at. I have really enjoyed it. I have crashed it a bunch of times myself and not had any issues at all. So A+. Good job. Good job, Carl and team. You are really making some strides that make a lot of sense for your racing market. I am very excited to see what the strides look like for freestyle in hopefully the near future. And yeah, if you have any thoughts on it, or you've been running the Race V2 board, leave me a comment below. I want to know what you think about running the board on actual races. I know a lot of racers that do run those boards, and I know a lot of people that have piles of them burned up in a bucket somewhere. So let me know how many you've killed. And let me know if you'd be interested in running this one, because I think that, like I said, this is going to be a big step forward for the durability and the overall adoption of this system for HD digital racing. It's pretty good. I'm liking where this is going. So leave me a comment below if that's something you've been doing or are interested in doing. And yeah, until next time, stay greasy, and I'll catch you later. So the saw has me thinking, what would happen if I took a VTX and sawed on it to shorten it? Who wants to see me do that? Because I have some in the drawer, and I'm thinking I could saw it. It's likely to create a bunch of smoke and fire. So leave me a comment below about that too, because now I kind of want to destroy things. Destruction is the best. Urgh.